Welcome to Speaking Cinema, Serious Movie Jibber Jabber, a movie podcast, coming to you live with shrimp cocktails in our hands, mountains of debt in our wallets, all from Hollywood, California, on the lovely Sunset Strip. Do it. Follow us on social media at Speaking Cinema. Listen to us Jibber Jabber every single Monday on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. I am your host, Mr. Ace Jibber Jabber himself. Hello. With me today, as always, my partner in crime. He puts your head in a vice because he loves you, Kevin.
That's me. I have the comfiest vices.
The comfiest vices?
Comfiest vices.
Is this a sex thing?
You can come over and find out.
We continue rolling through our
Yeah,
I can't even pivot out of that one. We continue rolling along with the Scorsese Director Buffet. This episode, doing a doozy.
Yes, we are. We got a big one.
And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, the Director Buffet is when we pick a director and we check out not their entire filmography, but, you know, a sample, a large sampling of it.
We don't just want to do the big movies. We want to do some of their more obscure stuff.
Of course. But today, we're going to do one of the bigger ones.
Sure. Absolutely.
A direct quote from Scorsese. My whole life has been movies and religion. That's it. Nothing else.
What a life. You can tell.
This week, winner loses all. 1995's Casino. Starring Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Sharon Stone, Frank Vincent, Don Rickles, and James Woods. Written by Nicholas Pileggi and Martin Scorsese, based on Pileggi's book. We've been down this road before.
We're little good fellas. Produced
and distributed by Universal. If you're not a gambling man, expert odds handicapper Sam quote-unquote Ace Rothstein is sent to Vegas to overlook the operation of the Tangiers Casino and ensure the Midwestern mob is making serious money. Things get hairy when another mob enforcer is sent to support Ace and when Ace falls for a woman with a shady past. Did you write this?
Yes, I did.
Interesting.
You like my plot summaries?
I feel like you do a good job with it. I can't do it without literally describing the whole movie, so I gotta take it over to IMDb. I also prefer it, Kev, when you write these, because I do feel like you're better at it than me, for sure.
Well, you know, I try. I enjoy it. So
Well, good.
I truly don't mind.
For me, it's a real fucking pain in the balls.
I've got the whole formulas in my head, so, and on a Google Doc. So.
Filming took place in now the defunct Riviera and Landmark casinos in Las Vegas.
Las Wages.
Ooh, Las Wages. That's how you
Never heard that one before?
No.
That's a little pet name for Las Vegas. Las Wages.
Producer Barbara DeFina.
Barbara DeFina. Ex-wife of Martin Scorsese.
Oh, one of the many.
Number three, I believe.
Why build a set when it's all right there? Fucking Barbara knows what she's talking about. Filming took place between 1 and 4 a.m. Some of the quote-unquote extras in the background are actual gamblers in the casino. All filming was done on location around Las Vegas in the Las Vegas Valley. Las Vegas is in the valley, huh?
Yes, it is. Very much so. If you ever drive there, you will see. You kind of go down into it, and then there you are.
Actors clamored for parts in this film. Sharon Stone pitched hard for the role of Ginger and got it on recommendation for Joe Pesci. James Wood heard that Scorsese was interested in working with him. He called him and said, anytime, any place, any part, any price. Jonah Hill said, I believe, verbatim the same thing to Scorsese.
He said he would have done Wolf of Wall Street for free, but the SAG thing said he had to take the minimum salary of $60,000. Poor baby.
Well, listen, homie. We could talk about the unions and stuff, but
when you got it flaunted,
I wouldn't wish being an actor on my worst enemy.
Well, there you go.
Because it's interesting, right? Because we have a mutual friend who's looking for a job right now. Getting his feet wet in the real world. And I said to him, the thing about a job is you go for a job and you have to admit to yourself that you want it, right? Then you apply for it. And then there's that cat and mouse game, or are they going to call me? And then they call you. And then you come in and you talk. And maybe it goes great. And maybe it went as good as it can go. But there's another guy they interviewed who has already done this job. But they got an internal candidate that they wanted to go with. But it came down to you and someone else, and they just went with someone else because they had to make a choice. And you know what you get for being a runner-up? Fucking nothing. You get Nothing. Sometimes not even a phone call.
Yep.
So that being an actor is doing that every day, constantly.
Mm-hmm. Tough gig. Some people thrive in it, but it's a tough gig.
I couldn't do it.
So yeah,
But I am available for voice work, people.
Make
So
your
call
money
me.
when you can. Yeah, voice work sounds pretty sweet, actually. Give me in on that.
Let's talk about this afterwards. All right. We got a business venture. Wardrobe budget for this movie, $1 million. De Niro and Stone got to keep all of the clothes after filming completed. Not a bad way to refresh the closet.
Yeah.
Although this is a period piece, right?
It's period piece. 70s, 80s.
I feel like
So there are a couple De Niro suits in this that are like, oh boy.
I look forward to that. The 70s lapels, man, they just bum me out.
Just,
I'm a 50s man myself.
you could park a Coupe de Ville on some of those lapels.
Indeed. This was Scorsese's last collaboration with Robert De Niro after 8 films together. They never made one since, huh?
Well, they're working on The Irishman is coming up, and that's going to be a return for both De Niro and Joe Pesci.
Also, and I don't want to be negative. We're just starting this episode out. But after watching some Scorsese movies, I do get why he has trouble getting his movies financed. Because you could argue that they're good movies. Of course they're good. But they're not easy movies.
No, of course.
And none of these movies, listen, everyone, all the Scorsese fanboys out there are like, oh my God, Raging Bull. Oh my God, Gangs of New York. Oh my God. But on paper, right, this is a plotless movie about a boxer who has no redeeming qualities. That doesn't scream box office to me.
No, it doesn't.
You know, this is a period piece. You know what I mean?
It took silence. It took silence forever to get made because, yeah, it's like 2 Jesuit priests go to Japan and it's long and it's going to be expensive. It does not scream box office gold, and unfortunately, it wasn't.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't tell this story, but again, if I'm in charge of a movie company, the crusaders, the people inflicting their religion onto a foreign country, they're the good guys. They're our protagonists. Take my name off of this.
Sure.
So, as of this recording, Casino ready and available on physical and digital purchase. Currently streaming on Fandango now. So if you're on Fandango now, guys, you know who you are.
Yep.
Get on it.
Because I don't know who you are.
It's probably playing on USA or Spike.
Yep. At this very moment, I would guess. And Netflix, off and on, it's always on there.
And speaking of it playing on Spike, Kev, this is the part of the podcast where we say, have we seen it? Are we familiar with it? I feel like I've seen this movie in bits and pieces on Spike probably when I was in college, where it's like, oh, watch TV for a minute. Here's a movie with De Niro's a mobster, and then a couple weeks later you see another part of it, and So I think I've seen this movie. I think so.
We'll find out. So
I remember a scene where
it's a long movie, so you can come in at like any point, and you never know quite where you're at.
I remember a scene where De Niro gets a corporate, like the corporation puts a lackey on him, and then he doesn't take it very well.
Yeah, I think that's this one.
Okay,
I believe so.
All right, Kev, you own this movie. You've watched it a million times.
I've seen it more than a few times. The first time I bought it was we had an employee of the month at the pizza place I worked at, and we got a gift certificate.
To Sam Goody?
Close. It was a local store called Hastings. R.I.P. It is gone now. But it was a great store for music, movies, books, everything in between. And you got a gift card for that, and it was literally next door to our pizza place. And I walked over there, and I had my gift card, and I bought, I believe, Casino and something else. But I had bought the 2-disc DVD of Casino and added it to my collection. So
very good. Are you a gambling man, Kev? This movie takes place in Vegas. It's all about gambling.
I've been to Vegas several times. I do enjoy every now and then throwing a little skin into a game.
Well, what's your games of choice?
I like blackjack. I like Texas Hold'em. I do not like slots. Slots are a racket and they're not fun, and all you do is lose. I really love craps. I just recently discovered how much I enjoyed craps.
Craps is the one with everyone bets on a number and then they just roll the dice.
Yeah, you're betting on various scenarios.
Come on, 10!
Exactly. It's like, if you bet on, this is going to land on 10, you're going to get a bigger payout. But if you bet on this, as long as it's not 7, I'm good, and you can kind of ride that for a bit. So There's a lot of different ways.
So
to
you
play
could bet that
craps.
it's not going to be something.
Yes.
So statistically,
that craps board is littered with things you can throw your
so if
chips
you're
on.
betting on what it's not going to be, the odds of you winning are much higher.
They're much higher, but it's a lower payout.
How much the payout?
It depends. It depends on what the button number is and just like what kind of stakes you're playing on the table.
This is the weird thing about gambling is that.
But then there's ones where there's squares on the table. It's like 30-1 odds. It has to be double fives or double sixes. But if you put $5 down in there, you're walking away with some serious scratch. But when you throw and it doesn't happen, you lose that immediately. But then there's fields you can put like $10 down and you ride it out. So, it's a lower payout, but like it's usually 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
But like let's say you put $10 down, it's a $10 table. You put $10 down, as long as they don't roll a 7, you'll double. Or like you'll get another 10. And then you can either put that in your chip pile or say, hey, I'm going to do this on 20. So now you're getting 40. Now you're getting this. But if you're riding it and then somebody rolls a 7, everybody on the table loses. And then it's a new shooter, basically. It's a fun game because almost every gambling game is you against the world and against the house. This one, it's like the whole table's in on it and everybody can win and lose at the same time. Basically, I
don't get like craps and roulette because I feel like how do you learn?
There's plenty of online tutorials.
But
talk to any old boy in the casino and he'll tell you everything you ever want to know about craps and roulette.
All right, I know.
And horse betting's a fun time too, I will say.
So Kev, I have been to Vegas once.
Mm-hmm.
It was for a job. I was a camera loader on a Burger King commercial.
Wow.
With a comedian whose name I can't remember, who was a fucking, I don't know your name, dude. He's a guy I've seen on TV and stuff. He bought me breakfast in Vegas at the hotel the next day.
Yeah.
It was a pretty bad experience. It rained that day. It was bizarre.
Yeah. That Vegas rain is the worst because it gets super gross and humid too.
Yes. So, I've been to Vegas once. I was definitely very far off script because they were like, "We're not having you fucking dudes work on," Kev, you know me. Straight edge, committed relationship. I don't like gambling. I definitely don't like games of chance.
You don't dip your toe into the vice too much.
I don't. I got nothing against the idea of a strip club. I'm like, I get it. Naked ladies. Or if you're into it, naked dudes.
Until you get in there, you realize, oh, this is a money pit, and I have no money now.
Well, yeah. You got to part with some money, but sure, right? You got to give people money. I mean, it's not fucking free, but I get it though. I do get that, but and I don't like games of pure chance, like slot. I was on that cruise. I did some slots. I'm like, this is boring.
Yeah.
Like if I had my phone was out of batteries, I would do this to pass time, just to be like penny.
Yeah.
But it's like it's boring.
It is boring, but some people. My uncle works. He's retired. He's a retired principal, but he does part-time security work out at the Indian Casino in Spokane. Easy gig, it's easy money. It's your fun money. He has like a boat and a dog and stuff like that. So, he said at one point there was a woman who had fallen asleep at a slot machine, and when they reviewed the security footage, she had been there for 16 hours.
Before she fell asleep, or
yes, before she fell asleep.
16 hours at one machine.
At one machine, just sitting there, plunking away on it, plunk, plunk, blah blah blah, blah plunk, plunk. 16 hours. How fucking sad is that?
That's pretty sad, Kevin.
So it's fun. What friend of the show Christy always says, you have to treat it like this is entertainment. Not that you're gonna win anything out of it. It's you're paying for the enjoyment. There's a possibility you can win, but you're also playing a game. You gotta treat it almost like a movie. But it's the people that really get in there saying like, I'm gonna be set for life. All I gotta get's that one hand. That's when it becomes kind of a deep dark hole.
I will also say I've also never been to a strip club because, Kev, you know me. I have a summer birthday, so all my friends turned 18 months and months and months before I turned 18. By the time I turned 18, everyone was over the strip club because they lost so much money at the strip club.
Yep.
Which, by the way, to my friends, and some of them may or may not be listening to this, Fuck you all.
And if you ever want to go to one, I'll take you to one.
Well, you know, we have a friend who recently had a breakup, so maybe we'll take him.
There we go.
I feel like at this point in my life, and this doesn't make any sense, but maybe it does. I feel like if I was just like, oh, I want to just go because I've never been, that feels like not a good enough reason at this point, because it's like, well, you haven't gone for such a long time. Like, why is it now? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, but I don't know. Maybe that's like a Catholic guilt thing. I don't know. Who knows? So, all this to say that Vegas doesn't make much sense on paper, but I do want to go to Vegas because I'm interested in hanging out at the pool all day, doing nothing, like literally.
You can very much do that.
Reading a book, and then at night going to see some sort of show. So maybe some
Lots of good shows.
maybe some magic.
Beatles love, perhaps.
I'm not against that.
Comedians.
That Avatar show. I'm interested in seeing how that goes.
Turok.
And then maybe hit a buffet afterwards, but make some sensible choices.
There you go. See? You can do Vegas properly. You don't have to, like, wake up in a pool of your own piss and still have a good time.
And I don't want to do that, Kev, because as you know me, I'm a square. But God damn it, if that's just not my natural shape. So there's that. This is our third episode with Scorsese, Pesci, and De Niro. Is it great that a director can keep a stable of actors, or do you think it gets stale?
I think with a director like Scorsese, he does so much different stuff with his characters and his actors. His two Daniel Day-Lewis roles, which one we're going to do a little later, you'll never confuse the two. Mm-hmm. You'll never confuse Robert De Niro in Raging Bull for Robert De Niro in Goodfellas for Robert De Niro in this. Like, they're just... He finds really talented people that jive with him, and he knows how to push them in different directions.
Well, but the thing, though, is that this movie has a reputation for being very similar to Goodfellas.
Sure. I personally think a little unfairly, but sure, I can buy that.
Famously, David Spade on Saturday Night Live, Casino. I liked it better the first time when it was called Goodfellas.
Yeah.
That was the joke. I think it's cool when actors can do this, and I think what you're saying is when it's cool, right? When it's the same collaboration but different results.
Yeah. Orson Welles is another one where he had his
his
group,
Mercury. Yeah.
He cast them. They were old, and then they were young, and then they're like he does all kinds of crazy shit with his little troupe. It's when you get into the Tim Burton rut of...
See, okay, interestingly...
Johnny Depp is this quirky guy with hair, and he has all these tics and...
But is that that problem... The thing is that I think it's interesting, right? Because you see when it works and when it doesn't work. And I think it really comes down to the material, right? Like, Tim Burton doesn't really make movies that we like. So...
Not anymore. He used to.
Right. So now that he's always reusing Helen Bonham Carter and Johnny Depp, it's like, I don't care. This doesn't help. It doesn't really hurt it either, though. It's not their fault. It's just that what you're making is not interesting. Like Dark Shadows. It's like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's just not.
But, Ryan Murphy on TV does that, right? He always casts the same people in all of his shows, and it to great effect. Anderson, Tarantino, Kevin Smith, they all do it, and it works. You know what I mean? Yep. So it's something that can be done.
And you can keep the same actors, but just give them new material to work with. It's... I don't want to rag on Tim Burton too much, but it's like you're making the same kind of thing over and over.
Well, that's the thing is
it's just not interesting.
Right. And I get it from the perspective of like you make a movie, you collaborate very well with someone, so you're like, let's not let this go to waste and we all split up for the sake of it. Mm-hmm. Let's do this again. Right? Because we get along and we can communicate, we can figure these things out. So I get that, and I would feel like if I was ever a movie director, I feel like the nature of me of like, hey man, this actress and me, we really got along. I listen to her, she listens to me. Like, let's just do it again. Because why risk it if this works? Mm-hmm. I feel like that's my nature, right?
Kill Bill was born out of that after they worked on Pulp Fiction.
Square.
QT and Uma.
QT and Uma. What are your expectations for this watch?
Again, seen this one many times. Is it gonna be as fun a movie as I remember? It's a fun movie.
I want this movie to have the same kind of enjoyment that like a Goodfellas has.
Okay.
Gets it.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Here we go. Kev, we're back.
We're back.
I watched this movie on DVD.
All right.
Took me 2 fucking nights because
this one's even longer than Gangs of New York. This is
I feel like
2 minutes shy of 3 hours.
Ugh.
This movie.
Jesus Christ. we We finished the movie. We started this one. We're like, oh, we have an hour before we want to go to bed. Let's just get an hour. We got an hour of this movie out, and we started the next day, and it was like, God damn it, when is this movie like, God damn, this movie is long. It's a long movie.
It is very long. I completely concede to that. What'd you think of it, though?
Okay. So, also, I should say at this point, it turns out I did not see this. Whatever movie I was talking about in the first half was not this movie.
Okay, all right.
Because I saw a scene where it was a guy who like looks like Paul Rudd gets put onto him, and he's like, I don't want to fucking deal with you, so he beats him up, and then they kill him. Or they shoot him in the back of the head. It might not even be De Niro. I don't even know.
No. Who knows what you were watching?
I don't know. It was on Spike, so I can tell you. So you wrote this plot synopsis when we recorded the first half.
Sure.
You know, expert making serious money, things go awry, blah, blah, blah. That implies this movie has a plot. Which...
It does not.
It does not.
No.
There is no plot. Quote unquote, quote Martin Scorsese himself, the man. There's no plot at all. He said in an interview on the Blu-ray, it's 3 hours, no plot. So you know that, so you know this going in. There's a lot of action, a lot of story, but no plot. And in its best moments, that totally works for the movie. And in its worst moments, it gets a little bit soggy.
Sure.
I feel like this movie is like, it's like some sort of meal that you're eating, like an enchilada or something, where like the juices from the other thing on your plate have kind of soaked half of it. So there's some soggy bites and some crispy bites. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. But the crispy bites are real crispy, right?
They are.
They're real tasty.
Listen, at the end of the day, it's an entertaining movie. It loses its focus at times. It's too long, but
even I will concede it's too long.
But right,
and I watched it all in one go.
And it's tough. It's tough to say like which scenes you would excise. I think a lot of the scenes with Joe Pesci and the wife are just superfluous. But there's a lot of really strong segments. There's a lot of really strong character stuff. There's a lot of really strong dialogue exchanges.
Sure, I could watch, and this is my big note for this movie. I could watch De Niro and Pesci act fight all day.
Yes. and De Niro act fighting with everyone in this movie is very good.
Yes.
With the cowboy, with his wife. You know, he's like, I don't want her to go in there. And she's like, you fucking bastard. I don't want her to go in there.
Yep.
And then not leave. So if you gentlemen will escort her in, and then please escort her out.
Great.
Like, just like those things, like...
Mm-hmm. Or, even in the low-key scenes where it's like, $25,000 is a lot. Do you want a coat? If you want a coat, you got it. But is that what you want? And she just won't tell him. Like it's like the low key simmers, and then there's the boiling pot of rage.
And unlike Raging Bull, I do think that while this dude is not the best, he's a flawed man, of course, right? And
sure.
He does do bad things, like him and his relationship with him and his wife goes out of control, and he does not handle it well. And he's putting his hands on her, and that's obviously a bad thing. There's no excuse for that. He is a likable character, and you do have an interest in seeing him weather through this. When Joe Pesci's like, I got this thing going on here, and you don't want to be involved. And he's like, that's because I don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
I got a straight business here. We're doing great, and you're just dragging my name through the mud. You're like, I agree with you.
He's a guy who, and it's something I really realized on this watch, he almost doesn't like that he's good at a shady business. That he's this expert handicapper. Because they specifically say in a Joe Pesci voiceover, he's like, never looked like he had any fun. He just kind of took his money and he went home. You know, he always just kind of wants to be doing a straight business with a nice lady on his arm that he can spoil rotten. And that's kind of the life he really wants. And that's the scenes where you really see De Niro is truly making Ace happy. The scene when he's telling Ginger he wants to marry her, it's that's probably the happiest this guy's ever been, And it's that really interesting dynamic of he seems to regret that he's good at this sort of shady act of sports betting.
But it's interesting because he does seem to take. It seems like it's like Vegas is all mobbed up, and you're like, why is that? If you're just not thinking about it. Yeah. But this movie really illustrates it without saying it. It's like you're taking. They do say it. He's like, what was illegal on the East Coast, over here is a legitimate business, right?
What are we doing out in the desert? it's all this money.
Right.
Love that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah, we like gambling, so like let's make it a legitimate business. You know what I mean? And you do see how he takes pride in it. Where the fucking muffin scene is great. Look at this. I got no blueberries. Your thing's nothing but blueberries. Your thing's falling apart. But the same amount of gotta do the same amount of blueberries in all the muffins. I don't give a fuck how long that's gonna take. You figure it out.
I don't know what character actor they got to play that chef, but he is perfect.
Yes.
It's just that deadpan. Do you know how long that's gonna take? Just rundown fucking. Oh man, this is my life, chef.
And even but here, so counterpoint, because Joe Pesci starts off as his ally, and eventually they start going. But Emily said Joe Pesci, is the star of this and all of Martin Scorsese's movies. And she really liked Joe Pesci's performance in this.
Okay.
And I think his performance in this is exceptionally well, and I think that is tied to their dynamic.
Yes, absolutely. Because if it's a just Joe Pesci movie, then it's kind of... This movie almost becomes one note. Because he's just that raging fucking Nicky Santoro guy. He's just that raging guy from like start to finish, basically. But with the De Niro dynamic, then it becomes... Because De Niro's a guy he respects and looks at, like, he loves Ace and he wants to be part of what Ace has, but
he's too much of a mobster.
Exactly. He's really into the Goodfellas idea of that, like, this is the great thing to be, is this fucking gangster that nobody wants to fuck with. But then it's like, his life kind of sucks because he has to take 6 cars to go anywhere. He can't talk on the phone. He's got to cover his mouth.
Well, right.
He's got to buy cameras that see in the dark.
Also, his accent in this movie is really strange.
It kind of bounces around a little bit.
It's like, because he's not talking like how Joe Pesci talks.
Yeah, it's definitely not Goodfellas. It's definitely not Raging Bull.
He's definitely doing, he's not doing New York. He's like doing some other kind of accent, like Baltimore or something.
Midwestern Italian? Maybe?
Yeah, something like that. He's like, you motherfucker.
You motherfucker.
I agree with you. It's interesting. It shows... It kind of like when people talk about criminals and criminal enterprises. I think we talked about this on the Goodfellas episode. It's like, those guys are... whatever. This is what's said about them. They're dumber than you think.
Yes.
Right? It could because anyone who gets involved in a business like that, there's no, he's like, I got this good thing going. It's like, there's no future in being a criminal, right? Eventually you get caught, but these guys don't think about it that way. No. And so that's the thing that you see in De Niro's character, where he's just like, you gotta stay out of the black book. You gotta stay clean. You gotta, do the right thing. He's like, he wants to be legitimate. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's this great intersection of, he's still a wild dude. You know what I mean? So it's like it's that perfect intersection of those two things.
There are 2 names in that book. One of them's still Al Capone.
Mm-hmm. And you want people to compare you to Al Capone?
Exactly. Yeah, it's like,
think about
don't
it.
Do that, dude. Bad. They get blinded by their own, whether it's greed, whether it's pride, whether it's just gotta take care of the boys back home. It's amazing what'll blind you to just what's right in front of your face.
And it's interesting the way they kick off the movie where he gets killed,
yes.
Right? And then you think he's gonna get killed because they show in that opening scene. I noted this. They show the dummy in the car being in the car when it explodes, and then later they show that scene again, and it doesn't happen that way. So you think that he's gonna die, but then he doesn't die, and you're kind of relieved. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. You are cheering for this dude, and then when Joe Pesci's death, oh man, nasty. Brutal,
nasty. Could you tell that was an animatronic in the whole?
I can, because I look for things like that. Yeah. I definitely think Emily was like, oh my god. Like when they showed the brother and he's just covered in blood, she was like, oh my, she was just like, this is sick. You know what I mean?
It's a good animatronic because like when it breathes out, like dirt goes from its mouth, It's really well done.
Yep.
So, but yeah,
I hope that's in the vault somewhere.
The first time I saw that, I was like, there is no way they let Joe Pesci get covered in dirt and blood.
No,
this guy's won an Oscar, for God's sake.
And then, unless you're dying, there's no way you could just get a bunch of dirt in your mouth and not react to it.
Exactly.
But if you were dying, you probably wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I do want to get into the Vegas talk here.
Absolutely.
I do love how this movie explores, and again, because it's an aimless fucking mess, it does explore the subcultures of Vegas in a really interesting way.
Yes.
The mob connection, how cheating works, how the casino works, how the counting the money works, how the money laundering works, how the money deliveries work. All of that gets its own scene, and it's all super interesting.
And I think a huge credit to that has to be Scorsese is working with a new DP in this one that I think he never worked with again, which is a shame. Robert Richardson, who shoots all of Tarantino's movies post Reservoir Dogs. That dude knows his way around light, knows his way around a camera move. He is brilliant. And the way he brings the casino to life and those scenes of, it's a combination of his camera work, Thelma Schoonmaker's editing, of just, you're getting just pure exposition, but it's like the most exciting exposition you've ever gotten. Like the whole sequence you're talking about is exhilarating, and all we're getting is just like, this is how Vegas works. And it's so fun to watch. It's great.
Yeah. And it's so, there's so much expository dialogue in this movie, but it's all delicious, right? Where he's like, the dealers are hit, the floor boss, and the floor boss is whip pan, and it's like
down, cheaters in the ceiling, like dudes that look like cheaters in jeans are just like looking down, and it's the whole sense of the world you get. You just don't see that,
right? And how the mob bosses are like, so people are taking, and he's like, you gotta let people have a little bit, so that they feel like they're part of the team, and so they feel like they're getting something out of this, right? And it's just exploring that dynamic where the dudes who are cheating everyone think that they're being cheated, but it's like, listen, if you lose $1,000 every now and again, it's okay because you're making millions.
I'm getting skimmed. Am I skimmed? Why the fuck am I skimming for?
So good.
It's that mentality.
And I this is the running dialogue in this movie. One is corruption, and this movie is nothing but corrupt. But then the stylishness is good. Like when the wife is crying on the bed, and the camera just follows her face, so she falls over, and it goes extreme Dutch with her. I just think that is all so appropriately well done and earns its. I don't know. I hate to be like it earns its whatever, because you can do whatever the fuck you want, and it's like I think if Scorsese is a cook, a chef, he likes spice. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
He's not afraid.
He goes, if you go to New Orleans and you eat all that food, it's just, everything is just blasting with flavor.
Right.
Every single dish is just like bam, 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 and he is cooking with every spice.
Now, do we need 17 dishes? No, but they're all tasty.
Yep.
It's never too spicy. It's never under spicy.
Yep.
Maybe there's too much of it, but that's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you may be full by dish 4, but there's 10 more courses coming your way. But you know what? That's not a bad way to go out if you gorge yourself to death.
Indeed. Also, we talked about how you alluded to this, how they got to keep all of their clothes.
Yep.
De Niro's suits. Whoa. I mean, listen, everything.
I don't think he ever wears the same piece of clothing twice.
No. All of the movie feels like the 70s and the 80s. There's never a moment where you're like,
yeah, wait a minute.
And even the 90s film style, like, all 90s look kind of has like that film stock thing.
Sure.
It does look good here. I think it's I feel like this movie and like Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, that film style works with those movies very well. And I think everything looks good, And I like how, the richer he gets and the more successful he gets, the more like dandy he kind of gets, or he's like in the house wearing like a silk robe
and his big like old Jew glasses.
Yeah. And and Joe Pesci calls him out on it.
Yeah.
I don't know who you compare. I can't remember who he compares him to, but he's like, "You think you're Sinatra with this, whatever." And it's like so good.
And yeah, it's just that bedroom is just the gaudiest thing on the face of the earth, but. That's where he's at this point. He has so much money. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna put silver and floral wallpaper on my wall and have a pink tufted satin bed.
Yeah,
and that all just works to tell the story of who he is in that moment. So, I mean, it's just the production design, the camera work, the editing. It's all fantastic.
I also need to shout out the dialogue in all of Scorsese's mob movies. It's very memorable.
Clicks along.
Fuck this guy. Ma, I'm sorry. All right, it's okay. That's enough, though.
It's funny. So that's Martin Scorsese's actual mom.
Oh, again.
Yeah, she showed up again. On the Casino DVD, there was a hidden feature, an Easter egg feature. And it's an outtake. It's just like a between take of her. They're setting up a shot on her. And you hear Marty in the background, and he goes, all right, we're going to take you up to where he says fuck. And she goes, Marty. The whole crew just dies laughing.
Is she fucking with him?
No, she's his mom. You know, she don't want to hear her boy say fuck. So like that just makes that moment even better, where she's like, but don't do it. You know.
Do you have a favorite line in this movie?
When in a terrifying scene where Joe Pesci puts a guy's head in a vice, and he's squeezing and squeezing, and the guy goes, Charlie M, and he goes, Charlie M, I almost popped your eyeball out for that piece of shit. And it's just the way he says shit.
Yeah.
That makes me laugh every single time. And then when that scene ends and he's walking out and he goes, Charlie M. Cut, next scene is just, there's too many like good moments in it. So yeah, that scene always, I really think secretly this movie's a comedy. It might just be for yucks.
No, I just think that they're just not afraid to be funny.
Oh yeah, and that's just so much part of the charm of this movie. And
I also think that they're not afraid to see the humor in the ridiculousness of something.
Oh,
right, like you have to switch cars 6 times, so it's like that's so silly.
Yeah.
So like, if it's silly, it's funny. Like the fucking scene where they're playing golf in the fucking Fed. Yeah. He's like, "What are they gonna land on the fairway? What the fuck's going on here?" And then he's just looking over, and De Niro's just like, "No, no," and then they just run out, and they're just running.
$100 whoever hits the plane. They're all whack.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it is a comedy.
I think on this view, I'm like, this has all the bones of just being a comedy movie. You know, it could have been Sinatra and Dean Martin back in the day. Mm-hmm. So just like, let's just make a movie and be funny and make scenes that are funny for us. It happens to be a really violent, intense mob movie, but it's probably De Niro's funniest movie.
My favorite line has to be, "This guy would fuck up a cup of coffee."
Yeah, that's a good one. I also like, in a more serious line, when they catch the cheaters, the guys who are using like Morse code. Also, great detail when it zooms in on the thing on the guy that's tapping him. It's like an eraser from a pencil.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like, that's just such a great little detail. Like, oh yeah, this thing's totally fucking homemade. This is not professional equipment. When he takes in the main cheater, the guy who's trying to cash his money out, and Don Rickles gets him. And De Niro goes, "You can have the money and the hammer, or you can walk out. You can't have both."
Yes.
Oh, that is so
Also,
cool.
that one guy got off light.
Yeah, he did.
For being the one who's actually cheating.
Yep. But they made an example of him.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's
so
a great
many
line.
great little lines throughout this whole movie like that. Just intense ones, funny ones. Yeah, just great.
Emily was she was working on someone's collection one time, and they're like science guys, right? Math guys. And I don't know how they figured out this first nugget, but they figured out that the roulette boards in Vegas were made out of wood, and they would wear down in a consistent way. So some numbers statistically would always come up more often than others. So they go to Vegas and they just start betting on those numbers. They buy boards and they just spin them and spin them and spin them and spin them and spin them. And they figure out, okay, here are the numbers. And they go to Vegas and they start betting on them. And the mob bosses catch on, or the casino bosses catch on. So they take them in the back room. They're like, "How do you guys keep like how come you guys are always winning? How come it's always these numbers?" They just explain it to them, and they're like, "All right, you keep your money. You can't ever come back and do this again. And you got to explain to us exactly how you figure this out, so we don't have to deal with this shit again." So then I think they went and they
different kind of wood,
or whatever. You know what I mean? Or they started changing them out more often.
Wow, that's interesting. That's amazing.
And apparently they were just like math kids who were like, "Oh, so the coefficient of drag is," they're just like, "Here, just fucking have them. I don't care,"
But I mean, it's just such an interesting world, and I think what this movie really explores well is that world of there's always somebody who's gonna try. The odds are completely stacked against you. The house is gonna win, but there's always the people that are like, any advantage they can get, they'll do it, but it can get snuffed out that quick.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they start losing money, they're not going to do it. There's the other scene where the three slot machines all hit a jackpot, and he's chewing out his pit boss cowboy boy, and he's like, either you were in on it or you were too stupid to know. Either way, you're out.
Yeah.
It's that level of they will not accept any kind of loss in that on that grand a scale.
Well, it's so interesting. It's just so interesting how it's like. I mean, we talk about this later, but I would like to see a movie about modern casinos, right?
Sure.
Like, how is it? Like in the end of the movie, and this is my same criticism of Goodfellas. And I think now that he did it twice, I question Marty. Question him. Where the movies always end with someone being like, it used to be good, but now it all sucks. But what was then was corruption, brutality, violence, mob rule, and then now is essentially what we have now, cleaned up, whatever. And why is that bad?
One of my favorite shots, potentially in all of cinema, is the fucking old people with the big white light behind them, like slow-mo walking in, and it's like, this is the end of an era. You know, it's like, this is Vegas now.
Well,
it's fucking Midwest Joe and his fat wife coming in and not having any fun.
What I mean, do you think Vegas sucks now?
There's many aspects of Vegas I don't like.
But what?
Just, I don't know. They try and cater to just that, like, I don't know. It's just, the fact that it wears down after 3 days is just kind of old. You know?
But that, I mean, don't you think it probably would have been worse back when you could smoke indoors and...
You can still smoke indoors.
Oh, really?
You can smoke anywhere in Vegas. You can smoke in a baby's crib in Vegas if you wanted to. Yeah, you get a reek of cigarettes in Vegas. So, but yeah, it's just... It caters to a just different crowd that's risk-averse, but they're just always cynically trying to separate them from their money.
I just feel like that's...
all steps of the way.
I don't feel like...
Again, I never got to go to Mod Vegas.
Exactly.
So, what do I know?
I feel like maybe they were more inept about it, but... Also, contextually, so this movie is made 95, so he says... So, presumably shot in 94. He said, it's just Disneyland now, right? Which is interesting because Disneyland now is not Disneyland of the 90s.
Yeah.
Disneyland of the 90s was Eisner's Disneyland. You got burnt out light bulbs, you got trash on the floor, it's a corporate dump, right? So it's interesting, if you said it's Disneyland, now you're like, oh, so it's this high quality but family thing, right? Yeah. But then it was this family thing that also sucked. Yeah. And it was objectively bad. This is Toontown Disneyland, right?
Yep.
So it's interesting. I wonder if that's what he's saying, where it's like they don't have I think that one of those implications, they didn't have standards.
Yeah, it's just more, there's that shot of the Excalibur. It's like, that's not cool. The Excalibur's not cool. It's just this tacky looking castle place that has an arcade in it for kids. It's like, in their world of Vegas, you don't bring kids into that world. It's supposed to be kind of this adult world for people that want to do adult things. But now it's so much more family, like, you got to have a Burger King and a Johnny Rockets and whatever everywhere you go. It's like, there always has to be something for the kids, and it's just, I don't know. You're supposed to be able to kind of
is that not the inevitable conclusion of capitalism, where it's like, we got to get everybody.
You got to get everybody.
You got to get between you and your money.
Exactly.
I'm surprised that there's not a Disneyland hotel in Vegas. If you told me there was one right now, I would be like, oh.
But
is there?
There is not.
Should there be?
No.
if you were running Disneyland resorts, would you make one?
I don't think so.
I think
not with the way Disney's brand wants to go.
Well,
you don't want Mexicans flipping cards with strippers on them outside your hotel, your Disneyland hotel.
Wait,
and you can't regulate that.
Street gambling?
No. You never saw the Mexicans with their little cards with the escorts on them, and they flip them at you like that?
No. We were way off. We were way off strip.
So the escort services hire these Mexican guys to, hey, cheap labor. I'm just calls them like I see them. I'm not being racist. And they just have cards of escorts, who knows how
on playing cards?
No, just like regular old, like when you'd see a concert flyer on.
Oh, okay.
And
flyers.
They flick them at you. They kind of make this flicking noise, and then they try and hand them off to you and all this stuff. So, but it's naked girls on these cards.
Like fully nude?
Yeah. And if I remember right, Vegas tried to, the casinos wanted to outlaw those guys because they were more trying to be family friendly, and the city of Vegas said no. So it's like, Disney does not want... They don't want to poke Vegas with a 10-foot pole. I guarantee you that.
I feel like you're right about that today, but tomorrow, I just don't know, bro. I just don't know. There's so much money.
It's so much money. It's still making money.
And I mean, the problem would be that you couldn't have gambling in that casino. That's the whole appeal. Yeah. Although, is there gambling on Disney cruises?
I don't know. Never been on one. I just don't know if they condone that or not. So. But yeah, it's just like Vegas just doesn't seem... It's not cool anymore. In the Dean Martin...
Is that true though?
But in the Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, the world of Casino, it's like, it's kind of this cool idea of like, you're sort of in this little world of just vice and sin and adult stuff, and you can just live it for a bit, whether it's a day or a week or it's your whole life, like Ace and Nikki and all them, you know. But yeah, now it's just kind of like, it is kind of like going to a TGI Fridays in some places.
I mean, listen, I can't speak on it either way because I never went to Old Vegas, I've never been to New Vegas, but I feel like that might be true, where it feels lame, right? You know, it feels lame when you go to Sbarro's in fucking Vegas, you know what I mean? For authentic Italian pizza. But I just think that that is the inevitable conclusion because people with families always want to take their families everywhere, you know what I mean? And the idea of an adult thing like that, I think, died in the 90s, right? In America, at least, right?
Mm-hmm. They did. Once the Midwest figured out they could leave every now and then and go to all these places, mm-hmm. It's how they did it. So,
but then also what you're describing though, like I mean, what you're describing though, I don't know if people would actually like that. Like, what?
And that's sort of, again, that's my own personal. Maybe that world did suck, but it's like they sure make it sound cool, and there's part of me that relates to like. That's why I love that one shot so much of all the old people coming in. It's like that's who you see at Vegas now. It's like people in their, you know, tracksuits from Kmart are just like in.
Have you ever gone to a strip club in Vegas?
No, I haven't.
So. I wonder if that same crowd doesn't retire to the strip club.
They might.
Grandma fucking wants a lap dance.
Hey, you know, Grandma's getting wild in Vegas. We're gonna do everything.
Grandma doesn't like Deja Vu. She likes Scores.
Nobody likes Deja Vu. They just go there because it's cheap. Oh, Deja Vu.
No, bad experiences?
Not bad, but it's just. I'll take you to a Vu. You'll see.
I see. I want to get into my nitpicks. Shit, slow mo of Marty. Why, Marty?
I like it in this movie though.
No bullshit.
All right. I don't know. There's just the shot when they're like really looking at each other, and it's almost like frame by frame. It's at their wedding. All that good stuff. I dig it. I really can't tell if I like the POV straw of cocaine going into the camera.
I love that. That's great.
I've always teetered on is that it's one of those it's so brilliant it's stupid moments, you know? or it's so stupid it's brilliant.
No, I think it's just brilliant. That's just brilliant.
Yeah. We've never seen cocaine on camera that way, so why not show it?
Indeed. Also, the car explosion. The explosion happens, and it is bright daylight, hours of sunlight left, and then they pull him out of the car, and then the next scene is him in a ambulance, and it is
dead of night.
Dead of night, and it's like I don't know what it's like in Vegas, but I gotta believe that there's not that many.
You can lose track of time, but.
Not like that.
Time moves at a normal pace.
I gotta think that 911 call would have been handled in less than 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
So my one cool thing I want to note is she spanks James Wood with the money. That's hilarious.
That's funny. Yeah, just the way people use money as like a physical object of not just like spending on things. It just shows you like these people have so much money they don't even know what to do with it. You know.
And I do appreciate how the movie kind of says like if everyone had just fucking relaxed, right, and appreciated what they had, they would have stayed with it.
Everybody, you know, there's the great line where he's talking about the cheater guy. And he says, you know, he'd be harder to spot, but he got too fucking greedy. It's got all of them, you know.
Yeah.
They would have been harder to spot, but they got too fucking greedy.
Well, and I think that's the appeal of Robert De Niro's character. He's like Joe Pesci, like, you know, stop getting attention on us. We have a good thing here. We don't need this. Yep. And you're just doing it because you fucked up. And I warned you, and you did it anyways. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I really identified with that character where he's just like, I just want to run my fucking casino, dude. I just want to rip off this Japanese businessman.
Yep. Which is apparently based on a real guy.
Yeah, who really did shit like that.
Yep. So. But yeah, but again, the way it shows that little world of, okay, this is what we do with a high roller who's got unlimited money and takes our fucking towels.
Yeah.
We break down his plane or say the plane.
Or, you know, we're going to offer the plane, fake a mechanical issue, bring him back.
He blows all his money. We got all our money back. So I like that cool thing in this movie. You cast Don Rickles, but he really is playing a character. They didn't just cast him to be like...
Who's he playing?
He's the his right-hand man. He's the old guy. The old
Yeah.
So you know who Don Rickles is, right?
But he's a comedian, right?
Yeah, old school comedian. He's the insult comic. He like makes funny insults about people. They really cast him to be a character, though. They don't cast him to play Don Rickles, and they don't try to make him Don Rickles.
And I didn't feel like he was less than anyone. I didn't feel like he was distracting in any way. I feel like he felt like a guy who could be the fucking head of whatever he was, head of casino operations. Yeah, I felt like that's it. And he probably looked like that. He probably dressed like that. And he probably talked like that.
And I just thought that's a really inspired casting choice and a really smart way to not just because he could have been Don Rickles shooting off one-liners, but he really does just play this loyal right-hand man extremely well. Mm-hmm. But he gets his little moments too. He's like, oh, it's a lot of money to be counting out in public. He's like, can you send over a little chilled champagne? We're gonna count this in a nice private room, and then hammer to the hand. The violence is visceral and nasty in this movie.
Not a ton of it. It's not all, but when it hits hard.
My God, you remember it.
Yes. And also the fake out, the fucking fake out with they had the buzzsaw, and he asked him, which hand do you do it with? Can you do it with the other one?
Yeah.
And because his hands have been flat for so long and we're doing all these cuts, you don't think like, oh, are these real hands? Oh my God!
Exactly. So just great prosthetic work on that. I really like the moment of in their wedding, and then she's talking to James Woods on the phone, and his little snippet of dialogue there where he's like, can you feel me in your stomach? Can you feel me in your heart? It's like just the way the shots are chosen in that, and then just how it plays over that whole scene is it's really interesting and really evocative. I mentioned the lighting and the camera work, but I'm going to mention it again. Casinos just look great on camera. And just the way he captures neon light and light bulbs and the floor and the action and everything's just solid in this. It's so good. Love it a lot.
Yeah.
Opening sequence by Saul Bass. That's cool.
Well done.
He did, a lot of Hitchcock ones and very famous title sequence designer. So, good on him.
Mm-hmm. So, let's talk about this movie being similar in tone and theme and acting to Goodfellas. I think it's not in debate that it's a spiritual sequel. It is a spiritual sequel, right?
Spiritual in that it's a fun gangster movie that has consequences and is serious at times, but you can watch it on a Saturday evening or a Saturday morning.
Sure, but it's
an entertaining movie.
It's about low-level gangsters becoming high-level gangsters. You know what I'm saying? It's like you could describe the movies very similar in broad strokes. They're very similar movies, right?
Sure. And
there's lots of stylistic things that are the same, right? Dueling voiceovers. Also, my favorite is when that one guy gets a voiceover.
Yeah,
he's like,
Frankie Vincent.
If I told him the truth here, they'd be dead and I'd be dead. So I had to lie.
Yep. He gets his little moment. So.
No, I didn't see anything like that. So I do think that it's not in question that it's a spiritual sequel. It definitely is a spiritual sequel, and I think Joe Pesci's character is very similar to the one that he's playing in Goodfellas, where he's like this short-tempered guy who will fucking cut off his nose to spite his face.
Yep.
I think that's the same thing here. I think it's done better in the sense that I think they can assess what worked and didn't work in Goodfellas and do it again. But to say that like, oh, it's a ripoff of itself or that he's just repeating himself, he's not really repeating himself. Tonally, it is different enough and not plot because there is no plot, but story-wise, it is different enough.
And world-wise, it's very different.
Yeah.
This Goodfellas is the gritty streets of New York and New York hangouts, and this is like toe-to-toe glitz glamour Las Vegas.
Yeah.
With the grit kind of stuck under the door a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The grit happens in back rooms and in Italian markets in Kansas. There you go.
Fucking this guy, mom. All right, that's enough.
That's enough.
I just love how she did. I love the mob dialogue. It's just so good.
Yep.
They're skimming from us. What's the point of skimming then?
Yeah.
It's perfect. Do you like this movie?
I do. I enjoy it. I agree. I would say we talk about it's too long, and I agree. And I think the too long part comes at the back end, when it's a lot more about Ginger.
Yeah, and
I think that's kind of where I was starting to feel the strain a little bit. It's like Ginger's an interesting character. We haven't even talked about her in this podcast.
I mean, but
there's so much in this.
And I think that's indicative of I think the titular casino is what I'm more interested in.
Yeah.
Is a movie about running a casino and that whole thing. And I will say, it's if it was a separate movie, it would be really good. Like that second half with all of her shit, it is really interesting. But I'm more interested in like what's going on with counting money and shit.
Exactly. And I think that's just where the last hour, 45 minutes really goes all in on the Ginger thing. And Sharon Stone's good in this part. And she's interesting in the early parts of the movie. I just think we're just a little too much Ginger screaming, Ginger getting mad, Ginger fucking over Ace. And that's where I really starting to feel like, okay, how much more time is left in this? Okay. Can I get to bed on time tonight? No, I won't.
No, you won't. And I do think it's good. It's a spiritual sequel in the same way that like Fred and Ginger would make movies about how an entertainer and a dancer kept falling in love.
Sure.
Right? Frank and Gene did that. Elvis has a million fucking movies in Hawaii where he's this rock and roll guy who loves surfing and dames, whatever. And I think that's okay. You can instead of making a sequel to Goodfellas, let's just make another movie that's in the same vein.
Are you going to knock Hitchcock for doing a bunch of suspense movies? No, that's just his bag.
Right,
Right. That's Scorsese do his thing with violence and gangsters and corruption. Wes Anderson makes movies about families. They just happen to be very different, very disparate families in very interesting places.
Mm-hmm.
But a filmmaker, a true artist can just... I think that might even be the sign of a true artist. Someone who can take that similar theme and not ever repeat themselves in it. So,
and I do think that people often confuse observable trends as negative trends.
Sure.
Right? It's like, oh, Tarantino, he always uses 70s pop songs. It's like, you've observed that. You're implying it's bad. It's not intrinsically bad. It's intrinsically observed. Mm-hmm. Is it bad or is it good? Or is it neither? Is it good in some movies and bad in other ones? Like, I think everything that Tarantino does for his gangster movies totally works in Reservoir Dogs, totally works in Pulp Fiction, and works to a very lesser extent in Jackie Brown, right? But it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? It's like, is Jackie Brown as good as Pulp Fiction? No. Are most movies as good as Pulp Fiction? No. So that's the problem with Jackie Brown, is that it's the same guy.
Mm-hmm. Sure. That's not bad.
So that's the thing, is that like, I don't know what's better, Goodfellas or this movie. I think I like Casino a little bit better than Goodfellas.
Ooh, interesting.
But
I would say Goodfellas, I think top to bottom is probably a better structured, more of a shot in the arm, like this is great cinema movie. And this one is much more of like, I can eat 10 bowls of popcorn watching this thing and never be bored with it,
Mm-hmm.
So I get different things from both. And I think Goodfellas probably has a much more dire ending in terms of like he fucked everybody over and he got away. Whereas the ending of Casino, he literally says, and that's that, and then it's over. And it's like Ace made it out okay. A lot of other people didn't. A lot of people are buried in cornfields, but our boy that we were rooting for made it out all right. Mm-hmm. So you get different feelings from it, and I think I would watch Casino more just because it's an easier movie to kind of take down as just like an entertaining thing, You can show it if you're bored on a Sunday. Casino is like the perfect movie to watch.
Mm-hmm. I will say this, Kev, we're more than halfway through Scorsese.
Yes.
Marty loves corruption. He doesn't love plot, and he loves violence and length.
Sure.
These are some observations. I'm putting them in the stew, right? I think that the fanboys are all up in arms that the Academy doesn't recognize him, but I kind of get why they don't, right? And I think people, and I definitely mean myself when I say this, but I think people like genres more than they realize.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And a genre is a very comforting thing, because it's like, if it's a horror movie, it's scary. If it's a heist movie, it's about the heist. You got this and you got this and you got there's a
if it's a Western, it's about wells.
And cowboy hats and horses. So I feel like people can, when you're operating in genre, I think there's this crutch there to help you through the process. And I think he gives you this amorphous blob and asks you to make sense of it, which is not intrinsically fun. Intrinsically. the movies can be fun, and a lot of people like them, and justifiably so. But I'm saying, especially with an older audience that, you know, is fucking, you know, in my day, blah, 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 you know, a gangster movie had two men.
Jim Cagney and nobody ever fired a shot. It's like, all right.
And I think he's alienating that group by just doing what he wants to do. So I think in the end of the day, listen, I like plot and I like robots. Give me both. But, and he's like, it kind of puts in perspective how the Academy Awards matter and don't matter, and that's okay. It's like, it's not going to affect his legacy that he only ever won one Academy Award. The movies are the movies. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's plenty of shitty movies that won Academy Awards. There's plenty of great movies that won Academy Awards. There's plenty of movies that famously got stiffed. And there's plenty of movies that famously cleaned up the place. It is what it is.
And it's not the only barometer for success.
Right.
You know? Everybody's going to remember Scorsese long after he's gone.
Right.
And his movies are going to last. Mm-hmm. You know, if he only won one Oscar, so what? He made Taxi Driver.
And the fact that he won the Oscar for the only movie he ever had with a plot.
Yep.
I think they're finally like, all right, now you did it.
And I think people want to pigeonhole him into this, like he makes gangster violent movies. Our next film that we're going to do is very different, and it's going to be really interesting to talk about. But he's way more experimental than people give him credit for. And is way more willing to just branch out and go crazy and do whatever the hell he wants. I mean, Silence, my favorite movie from last year, that he's scratching an Akira Kurosawa itch big time on that one. Like, that's his Kurosawa epic. But it's unmistakably a Martin Scorsese movie, too, which makes it that much more interesting.
Indeed.
The guy can do whatever he wants.
So, I think that's the good way to put a dot on that, right? Put the pin in it. It's just he gets to do whatever he wants. He's doing whatever he wants, and the chips fall where they may, right? Like, people love this movie, people love Goodfellas, and that is enough. That is enough. If you make a movie and people relate to it, that's really all you can ask. The awards and the money and the gaga, the rumor and innuendo. Is that important? I don't think so.
You know, and great movies change as we change and times change. We just talked about Gangs of New York. How that movie is only more relevant 15 years later.
Yes.
Because of the world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Stanley Kubrick movies are like that. It's a lot of great filmmakers. You can just really apply yourself into... They may not tell a structured plot or a 3-act thing or whatever, but they evoke something different in you.
Speaking of no plot, 2001's playing at the Arrow, right?
I got tickets for it next week.
When is that?
April 1st.
Is that Monday?
70 millimeter, Saturday.
Okay. We gotta talk
talking LA theater talk.
We gotta talk with the missus about this one. Let's get out of here. We're running a little bit long here. That's it for us. This episode written by Kev, music by Jeff Russell. I'm your host, Mr. Jibber Jabber. That's Kev. Here's the mic. That's the MacBook. We record on it. We want to know the easiest way to become a millionaire from gambling? Start as a billionaire. Good night, everybody.